So within consequentialism, we could see there is something like I could say that the consequences are good for me, then it is ethical egoism. And if I were to say the consequences has to be good for maximum number of the people, then it is a utilitarianism. Right? So the utilitarians would say that an action is morally right if and only if that action maximizes the utility. If and only if that action is useful for maximum number of the people. Right? Then there is some issue in accepting utilitarianism in that fashion, that that you could easily see that someone is suffered for the sake of majority. So such kind of situations would be justified, morally justified. Now, to avoid that, J.S. Mill came up with this rule utilitarianism, where he says that we should have rules, and the rules should should take into account the individual rights of the persons, or the fundamental rights of the persons. So, which that individual rights or fundamental rights cannot be violated. And the reason to have such rules is that in the long run it will maximize the utility. Okay, so that's why we have something like rule utilitarianism and
so these are the two schools of thought, no? Utilitarianism and consequentialism.
Utilitarianism comes, comes within consequentialism. So if you take consequentialism, I can say that an action is morally acceptable if it is useful for me. That's also an explanation with regard to the morality of the action. So that becomes kind of theory where selfish motives are given priority. Whereas in a utilitarianism, the morality of the action is explained in terms of usefulness of the action for maximum number of people. So that's now to justify certain matters within speech technology. Now, would we go for utilitarianism? So, like we could say that, like now, if we take the speech technology, which heavily depends on the speech processing. Right? Now, inevitably, it will involve the collection of data. Otherwise, it wouldn't make much. I mean, at least some part of speech processing would involve collection of speech data. Now, is it could one justify the collection of speech data or of a person based on the utility that it brings to the society? One could think in that line. So, but so eventually all these discussions should hope it will lead to discussing such kind of problems. Yes. So now quickly we will run through this beyond the experiments. Now this, if you remember, if you were to look at the kind of responses that you had against second versions of the possible scenario, what we said is this, that there are certain actions which are intrinsically wrong, which are absolutely wrong. So deontologists would accept something similar to that. So how to explain their position? First of all, they will have some, the deontologists are not happy with utilitarians. So what they would say, deontologists would say is this: each and every human being deserves respect. And since each of them deserves respect, each one's fundamental rights or preferences or interests should also be respected. Right? So now one question could be asked: that why do I think that I deserve respect? Suraj, why do you think that you deserve respect? And why do I have this expectation that I deserve respect?
That is a basic element which should be given to each and every individual. Not only me, each and everybody. You know?
Okay.
Respect should be the first level, and things like the fundamental requirements like food, clothing, shelter, and all should come above that. So below that itself, the respect should be there.
Okay. So
It's the most fundamental thing
okay.
Any living being deserves.
Okay. So you would say that it is, it has to be earned. Or either. So, but even otherwise also, would it be?
I'm telling in a real time.
Even in a real time situation.
We don't.
Normally
I'm saying.
I never knew you before. When all this came into picture, like this particular course. But it's not that you earned the respect. When I saw you, I respected you, or vice versa. So I also have this thing that I should be respected.
Whether somebody has joined this Gyan course or not, everybody should be respected.
It doesn't have to, it is not connected with
No. So that is basic.
Okay, that's what this is.
So just because he has walked into this Gyan course, should he be respected?
No.
And he said respect should be earned. He has joined Gyan course. So has he earned respect for it? Respect is basic. It has to be.
Yes. So it's like, even if Suraj wouldn't have joined for this, it has nothing to do. So, yeah.
Like according to the psychologist also Abraham Maslow, like there are basic physiological needs. In the same way, we have self-esteem needs.
Okay. Okay.
So this self-esteem comes to every individual, like by birth. You don't have to be a intellectual or a professor or a student or a surgeon to earn respect. Even a basic individual like a baby also has a certain amount of self-esteem. It should be given to by birth.
Okay. So philosophically, how would we explain it? We all feel about ourselves and about others also that this respect has to be there. So, I wouldn't say that I'm okay with it, even if others were not to respect me. Like, even if I were to say that, most of us wouldn't say that. Would anyone of you prefer?
Respect is the fruit of work.
Fruit of
Work. It comes from work.
Respect is, the roots of respect are lying in the work.
Work.
Yes.
Okay.
So, if I work, so the fruits may be different. Sometimes I may get respect, sometimes I may not get, but work is important. So when I work, I should not worry about respect. So respect is the thing
Yes.
which I should not bother.
Okay, but just because of that, would I say that I'm okay? I mean, if nobody is respecting us, like respect is not a, it doesn't have to be so fundamental that way. Would I say that?
Yeah, fundamental respect is a thing not to bother. Fundamentally, we have to bother about the work.
Okay.
If I work, respect may come or may not come. If I work, it's enough. Matter ends there.
So, let me
Just want to
say.
add up this point. We cannot give the respect like who is a criminal or something. That is a different situation. If he done something bad to the society,
Okay.
he's
So,
not the person who is
okay.
should take the respect.
Okay. So,
That is what I just want to say.
you
It
are,
has to be earned like, by doing the
but
whatever the deed,
so that kind of example I had, like, I mean,
the dream,
no,
the
I mean, I never knew and you never knew me. Like, we just had a mutual respect.
Yes, that is true. So, but if we know the person, some XYZ person is not like he's a criminal. Like how should I give respect? Even though he expecting the respect from others. That is not the person I'm supposed to respect.
Even there is a respect. There is a basic human respect.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He may think that I'm gonna respect him, but it will be like my.
See, I think when you say respect, you're thinking about like a certain kind of looking up to. That's not what we're talking about, right? Respect is like the basic thing. I mean, when you can understand respect as something that you respect your elders. I think it's the way in which we have been taught the word respect is a little bit tricky there. You respect your elders, you respect your seniors. Like it's looking up to something. It's not that really. Respect is actually like you respect a child, like a newborn child. You respect. It's so even if it's a criminal, there is a reason why there are rules in a jail. Like if they are treated well, they ought to treat well. I mean,
Maybe if somebody harms me something, how should I?
see,
Even though he's a very good person, like he's a very prestigious person in society.
so for example,
But he he take a bulldozer and destroy my home. Then how should we be respectful person?
it's like making sure that this person receives the consequences of his or her actions are different from being disrespectful. When you're making sure that I am a criminal and I get punished, that is not you being disrespectful towards me. So I think confusing.
That's the reason why I changed the scenario. Like he harmed me.
Yeah, then you make sure that he get punished. That's
in a
what
respectful way.
Yes. I mean,
So it's
that
like,
is why we have laws.
so
Like
that-
you can't, just because somebody came and like hit you, you cannot go hit him back. If that happens.
So each, I mean, that each one of us, whether we are doing good or bad, I mean, at least we would say that we are kind of, I mean, that, what to say, and I don't want to say entities. We are kind of, we are respectable, like, right? So each person is respectable, like whether I am doing good or bad to you. I mean, there is some, it's not the way you look at me and the way you look at a rock like that is beside the road. I mean, it's not the same. Right? So some basic, I mean, this feeling is there that otherwise we would have said like would we say that I am okay to be used by others? I am okay to be used by others. I don't like to be used by others. That's what most of us would say. Right? So there is some, aspect of a respect. Everyone deserves respect. So this feeling is, as it was pointed out, that it's quite fundamental. Now, why it is there, may not be a concern here, but it is there. So now, could I say that I can respect you, but however, I don't respect your fundamental preferences or fundamental, to put it, the fundamental rights. I respect you, but however, I don't respect your fundamental rights. That doesn't make any sense. So if if I respect, then naturally, the respect for the fundamental rights also, it is entailed in that. Right. Now, again, we can bring that distinction between instrument, something being instrumentally good and intrinsically good. Now, can humans be considered as a mere instruments for the collective happiness of everyone? So if that's the issue with the utilitarians, that humans are my happiness, my fundamental preferences or likeness, everything matters only to the extent that how it is going to be consistent with the happiness, overall happiness or overall utility. Right? So somehow the humans are seen as instruments for the overall utility. Now, this violates the first preference, that the first thing that each and every human being deserves respect, and therefore their fundamental rights have to be respected. Now, so if you look at the little child in the city of Amens, so it is one thing to condemn the scenario of the suffering child in the city of Omelas because it reduces overall utility, and something else to condemn it as an intrinsic moral wrong and injustice to the child. So now, what did the rule utilitarians say? That we have to respect others' fundamental rights. And what is the reason? The reason is that that will maximize the utility in the long run. Now, deontologists are not happy with that. So they would say, like, the little child deserved a decent life because it is something that is intrinsically good. Right? The explaining that the little child deserved to be respected because in the long run it is going to maximize the utility doesn't make much sense here. So I should be respected, and why I should be respected? The only reason is that, or everyone has to be respected. The only reason for that is in the long run it is going to maximize the utility. That doesn't sound, so good. So I should be respected, or each one of us should be respected. Not because that it is going to maximize the utility in the long run. Because we are respectable because we are, there's something that is intrinsically, it is not instrumental, it shouldn't be instrumental. So, I am I have to be respected, or my fundamental rights have to be respected, not because that it is instrumental to overall utility. So that's the first disagreement this deontologist or Immanuel Kant has against utilitarianism. Somehow their framework reduces humans into instruments. So then, so for Immanuel Kant, the reason why each one of us feel and that we should be respected is because that we have this capacity to reason. And there's rationality and freedom. So, I mean, we have, we are the kind of beings who could be free in a meaningful manner. So, our capacity to reason and capacity to freedom makes us respectable. So, why do I have this particular feeling? Now, the deontologist may say that it is because of this, the rationality and freedom. Okay. So then, now, yeah. Okay. Get into this. So here, again, going back to that same question, that how do we explain the morality of the action? Now, the utilitarians would say that an action is morally right if and only if that maximizes the utility. Now, for Immanuel Kant, the morality of the action cannot be explained in terms of the consequences of the action. Now, one example would be like this. So, assume that I intended something that is really good. So, Suez is sitting there, and I was trying to help Suez, and think that it is going to be, it will yield some benefit, or it is going to be useful for him. But it so happens that at the end of the day, my action turned out to produce something that is really bad for Suez. Okay, so my intention was that I wanted to help him, but at the end, it so happens that turned out to produce something that is really bad. So, should I have to be morally blamed? I mean, my intention was really good, but I mean, after the performance of the action, it so happened something that is really bad has happened to Suez. Now, should I have to be morally blamed for that? He would say, yeah. But there is, I mean, it's quite difficult to attribute some moral responsibility. So, I mean, even if the consequences were to be bad, it is still difficult to say that I have to be morally blamed for it, because I actually had something that is really good for me, but in my mind, what it looked like after the performance of the action, it turned out to produce something that is really bad. So somehow it looks like that I shouldn't be morally blamed. Would you accept that? Or?
We have all faced such situations in life.
Okay. Okay, we had something that is,
We are at both the ends.
Okay, okay. So consider the other situation, like, so I really intended something that is really bad for Suez. Okay. but it turned out to produce something that is really good for it. So my intention was really bad. But it turned out to produce something that is really good. Now, I am just silent and I am expecting others to morally praise me. Would that be okay? I deserve moral respect. Yeah. So, in some sense, it's not so easy to say that I deserve moral praise for it, because I really intended something that is bad for me. So, so if you if you look at the way we assess the morality of the action, it's not, in that scenario, the consequences did not really play any role. Intended something that is really good, turned out to produce something that is really bad. Right? By looking at the intention, I would say that I shouldn't be morally blamed. Now, intended something that is really bad, but produced something that is good. The consequences were really good. So it doesn't make any much sense to say that I deserve moral praise for whatever happened. So the deontologists would say that the consequences, in such scenario, the consequences did not play any role in deciding the morality of the action. Somehow the intention, we are looking at the intention and then deciding the morality of the action. So, so that's why they don't, they would say that, the deontologists would say that consequences, what would be the reason to make such kind of moral judgments? Maybe because of this, that consequences are actually not in our control. So we perform the action, and what consequences it will lead to. Now, in the external world, how it is going to affect others, it's not in my control. So I shouldn't be blamed or praised for what is not in my control. The question is, what is it that I am in my control? What could I control? So it is intending something that is, intentions. So intending something that is good for sewage is under my control. I can intend something that is good. Or it is under my control to intend something that is bad for sewage. So intentions play a role, not the consequences. So that's another point where the deontologists are not happy with the utilitarians. So you look at the consequences and then decide the morality of the action. But the consequences are not in our control. And what is not in our control cannot be the base for morality of the action. So you look at the intention and then decide the morality of the action. So if the intentions are good, then the actions are morally good. So that's the way they begin to analyze the morality of the action. So whereas the consequences or utilitarians, it's effects. If the effects are good, the consequences are good, so the performance of the action is there, then the effect is there. You look at the effect, then decide the morality of the action. Whereas for deontologists, you look at the intention, then decide the morality of the action. So it is, it is not, for the consequences, they are not in our control. We perform the action and then the consequences are happening. And it's not, whatever the consequences are going to come up, it's not under my control. That's why, kind of example, consider that we made such kind of moral judgments. Now, so now the question is that if the intention is good, then the action is morally good. Now the question is, what is a good intention? When can I say that I have a good intention? So, like, frequently Suraj's case is coming into picture. So, I'm helping, so Suraj was in some need, and I help. Selfless. Okay. So, okay, selfless means like, now suppose I help, one is selfish, like I help Suraj, then, eventually I can get some respect from him, maybe like that, or maybe I can ask later that you do this also, something like that. Okay, so that way, that's motive is, or the intention is, selfish intentions are there, right? Which is not clearly a good intention. Now, let us say that it is selfless, and my reasoning would be something like this, like I don't have any selfish interest. It's not going to help me at all. It might help, but I'm not worried about that by helping Suraj. My intention is that, well, it is going to be good for my department. So it is selfless actually. Or may I say that it is selfless?
Selfless, see, you have got some, your life, your religion, your morality says that you should help him, and you have helped him without expecting anything.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's a good intention, isn't it? So the intentions we can't be born out of some need.
Okay.
You just wanted to help him because that is your nature, you help him.
Okay. So, yeah.
But doing good things to others also feels good. So even if you don't get like an external reward, you can get an internal reward for it. So in that sense, it's very hard to do anything selfless, because selfless things feel good.
Okay. Yes. So, it's unless we, what motivates us to perform certain actions might be that I would get rewarded. Right? So yes. So that feeling is there. Like unless I get rewarded, because what makes all of us to perform certain actions or to do something is this feeling that I would be rewarded. So for Immanuel Kant or for beyond all this, so what happens there is that we cannot explain morality in that fashion, because again the consequences are coming in. So the reward. So I do something that is good because it is going to be rewarded with the expectation, with the intention. So what would be a good, whether actually it is the case or not. The deontologist would say what is right intention, good intention, quite simple, that I am helping someone because it is the right thing to do. I mean, it's not because that it will have some consequences or good consequences for me or for others, for maximum number of people. That's not the, that's not the, that doesn't make the intention good. What makes the intention good is this, that I'm performing a particular action just out of the respect for the moral code.
But I think morality is.
I feel like morality is essentially always consequential somewhere. Like it all goes back to, like if we really think about deontology, and then it might, the other end, it will go to the role utilitarianism or something. Like it becomes like what makes a good intention a good intention. Intention is always about something. So there is certain direction there. So it, like, you know, so it's like, okay, this, my intention is good because the intention itself is of that nature that it is pointing at something. My intention is good because of the consequences of it. The intention cannot be, I don't think, especially intention can have a value once you take the consequences away from it. So I feel even the deontology, non-consequentialist, categorical moralities are a little bit somewhere consequentialist when you come to. That is something that I strongly feel.
So yeah, what you're trying to say is like, so intention, I mean, it cannot be an empty intention. So intention is intention of something like, so in the ontologist's case, it would be like intention is this, that right intention. Performing something out of the respect for the moral law, or performing something because it is the right thing. Now, this itself is a consequentialist. That's what you're saying.
Yes, because its intention is not like good or pleasure. You can see a good can be like a good in itself, or pleasure can be a pleasure. Intention is never the end. It is always like it cannot be. It is not something that can be good in itself.
So if that's the case, then something like now good intention. So we can have different types of intentions. One is intention because of some selfish motive, right? That's one type of intention. Then intention, like any utilitarian would have, selfless, but again utility of the maximum number of the people. Then, so the other kind of intention is this, that I am intending, my intention is this, that I am performing that particular action because it is the right thing to do, or it is just out of the respect for the moral law. Now, in these three intentions, I think you would say that all of them are consequentials.
Yes, that's how I feel. All the three are consequentials in nature because it's always because of that. This is a good intention to have because we need to have respect for the rule. Like it's always, it is not good in itself in none of these cases.
Oh. So then, how I would say it's like so it is the focus is not on the right intention. The focus is on intention itself. So it's like intention. Now, one way to explain what is an intention is only in terms of some consequences.
Yeah,
If you think about like an intention and then you take the content of the intention and then like then that becomes a proposition, right? Like this.
Okay.
Okay.
So the analysis on intention itself.
Right, so now the content of the intention, whether that is good or bad.
No, not just that content, rightness of the content of the intention, but the very right intention itself. So now I can have the analysis of the intention itself. That's one thing. Then I would say that all intentions are, it's about something. There's no empty intentions, and in that sense, it's consequentialist.
Can I actually use an example? I'm losing.
Okay.
Can you use an example? So if I intend to if I intend to write the exam well, now and then I am, let's say I'm cheating. Deontologists probably might say that, oh, but it's like really, she really wanted to, the intentions were really good. So maybe would they say that?
No, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't, right? So now that is because, why? Yeah.
Because it's like the action itself is not right. Now, of course, there's a other part to it, but if we focus on the intention, now, so I'm cheating on the exam. Right? Now, what is expected is not to cheat on the exam. Now, how would this be a right intention? It won't be a right intention. So generally what is expected is
okay, I understand. Now the action is not about passing the exam, the action is cheating on the exam, and then what are your intentions on? So I can never have, actually then if you think about it like that, I cannot have a good intention to the bad thing.
yeah, if something is bad, it's by its very nature it's bad. Within this framework, like if something is morally unacceptable,
Yeah, she's asking what about killing a terrorist?
Killing it.
Terrorist.
For your rules, I think for this kind of framework, they wouldn't accept. Killing it in itself is wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is a rule that you can't kill. Now there is no going against that.
So now we'll have to explain slightly more. So now, what is the right intention? The ontologist would say that right intention is this, that I am performing a particular action out of the respect for the moral law. Not just worried about its consequences, how it is going to affect, none of those. So if you go back to that categorical moralism, one of the ways to extend it further is this, that, to focus on the intentions.
So basically there is only one right intention to do anything,
Yes.
anything good, that is to follow the rule, moral rule.
Yeah.
So now can we ask what makes that like,
Now comes the question of something like that. So we have certain moral rules. Our common sense morality includes a lot of moral rules. So maybe you want to respect others, or I should not cheat on exams. Right? Like that, you can think of n number of rules. Now, this is not about a particular moral rule. Right? Now, so how this moral rule how a particular rule becomes a moral. Right? Now, for this, Immanuel Kant would say we should consider something like categorical imperatives. What is the right intention? Right intention is that performing a particular action out of the respect for the moral law. Now, how do I know that a moral law is acceptable or not? That's another question. Now, Kant would say, so if we skip all other explanations, Kant would say that, can I universalize it? So, if it is universalizable, after I have a moral rule, and if it can be universalized, then, and after universalizing, if I don't end up in any kind of absurdity or inconsistency, then that is a moral rule. So, for example, like again, Suraj is coming in the picture. So now I'm planning to, I'm considering to help him. So now I can say I ought to help Suraj. Right? I ought to help Suraj. Now, is it a right thing to accept? Suraj, of course, would say that it is a right thing to accept. Yeah. So, yeah, it is the right thing to accept. Now, why it is a right thing to accept? So, Kant would say, or deontologists would say, is it universalizable? I ought to help. So that's planning to help him, or I'm considering to help him. Now, make a rule or a maxim from this particular action that I ought to respect him. Then universalize it. Is it possible to universalize it, and whether I would end up in any kind of absurdity or not? If I don't end up in any kind of absurdity, then it is the right thing. So it's very, in that sense, it is a bit abstract. So consider the other example, like the easiest one. I ought to break the promise. So now, is it universalizable? So I might say that I have a very good intention, but and the rule that I have is I ought to break the promise. Right? That's a rule. Right? Now, can I just universalize this? Can I say that everyone ought to break the promise? So, would it be possible? Why it wouldn't be possible? Why couldn't I accept that this as a rule? So I have made some promise to Suraj. Then after some time, I'm considering to break it. So that's my action. So, yeah. Okay.
I think that we can make rules, yes, but there is always exceptions. Whatever rule you find out, there's always be an exception where that rule is not applicable.
Now, how exceptions would work within this kind of thinking, I'm not sure about it, but if something is, this is a process, like whether it is universalizable or not. So, that depends on what you mean by universal. So if there are exceptions, then it's not, in my understanding of this semantics, it's not then universal or isolable. Universalizable in the sense whether everyone could follow that. So, for deontologists, yeah, if something is a rule, there are no exceptions for that. Yeah. So that's it's an absolute moral principle. So, yeah. You're trying to say.
Yeah,
want to say that I was trying to respond to the question that you were asking. It wouldn't make sense to universalize it, because if you say that a promise ought to be broken, and then the word promise will not have any meaning.
Yeah.
It will lose its meaning. That it doesn't make any sense when you say a promise is to be broken means
Whether that
it's absurd. It loses its meaning. It's a contradiction.
it ends up in some kind of absurdity. Yeah. So can I say, that everyone ought to break the promises?
Yeah, it's like saying nobody need to tell the truth. Then if that's a thing, then the truth will lose its meaning. Again, I would like to point out that we are looking at the consequences here.
Okay, consequences.
Because we are looking at it, right? So it's a deontology, we are setting rules for deontology, and we are looking at the consequences. What happens when you do this? It's the consequences that decides whether it's good or bad, whether it can be a rule or not a rule.
So, consequences is now I ought to break the promise. So it's not the consequence of a particular action. So it doesn't have to be connected with in the external world, how the action is going to impact others. So conceptually, is it acceptable, something like that?
Because it's a logical consequence, it's not a empirical consequence.
Yes, so if you bring that, then yes, it is not the kind of consequentialism we are discussing here. So yeah, just to again explain what deontologists are trying to say. Now, so unlike utilitarians, they don't look at the consequences of the action. So if you go back to the possible scenario that we discussed in the beginning of the class, so there, we said something is intrinsically bad in pushing the healthy person, or something is intrinsically bad in removing 5 different organs from one person and giving it to others. So how to explain this further? So the focus is not on consequences. So keeping consequences, we cannot explain that. One of the ways to explain is just focus on the intentions, irrespective of the consequences, what the consequences are going to be there. So if the intentions are good, and if the action is universalizable, then the action is not good. So that's the kind of approach the deontologists are explaining morality in this fashion. So which one do you accept?
So we should not think these are two conflicting, and in our real life we can't stick to one of this. See, China looks at utilitarian values. So whether it is mass manufacturing or even producing coronavirus, to implement its rules, they don't mind crushing the people. The same thing we don't do. Our approach is totally opposite of that. We think like this: intention, what will be the consequence, and suppose if it is going to affect one person or so in the wrong way, we should not implement it if it is good for the majority. So decisions doesn't happen faster in a country like India. Okay, so I see when I compare this. So in our life also we have things like that when we come across some conflict. So we are usually trade off, or we take the best of both. Right? And then that we consider ourselves as morality. We define morality in our own way. we imbibe from utilitarian values also, we imbibe from these intentions also, and we try to say this balance with that and that balance with this, and taking those things, then we see it the holistic view of both the eyes. We don't see from only one eye. We totally don't give up intentions, okay, and we don't even totally give up those utilitarian.
Yeah, so, but these are the two